look. And occasionally, I will give my thoughts, my thoughts, my reactions per se. I wouldn't say a reaction to a show. This is not a recap, but I'm just going to give you my overall sentiment. And right now, I'm talking about the Real Housewives of Potomac. So I know I am a couple of days after it's airing. I believe it's a couple of days, maybe one. I don't remember because I have it on DVR. And this is the thing. I tried watching it multiple times and I kept falling asleep on it. Partially because I might just have narcolepsy. I don't know. But my thoughts on this season is, my thoughts are wash, rinse, and repeat. I feel like it is now becoming part of a formula for these housewife shows. There are many thoughts surrounding what I see happening on the show. I think when I'm finished giving my both thoughts, some of them are not going to be popular. I have several thoughts. Number one, wash, rinse, repeat. Like I said, I feel like right now the show isn't really about the interactions of ladies anymore. It's about this thing called having a storyline. Now, let me just say this. I wish people who are recapping these shows and other people who get on these YouTube panels or whatever, stop talking about storylines. The viewer is obsessed with everybody on these shows. They're obsessed with this notion of a storyline. I could care less about a storyline. If they're interesting people, then let them just, be. Stop talking about these stupid storylines, okay? Because now these people who are on these shows, I'm sure they're listening to the viewers, right? So now they think they have to have a storyline. I'm like, you just have to be interesting. Shut up about this notion of, well, what's your story? Like, who cares? I don't care if your whole job is just to show up and be pretty. Maybe you're just interesting just because that's your story. That's your thing. Maybe you're interesting because you like to work. Maybe you're interesting because you want to have 5 million kids, or maybe you're interesting because you don't want to have any kids, or maybe you're struggling with fertility, and that could be that thing that people are interested in watching you go through that journey. But I don't think people need to have a storyline. They just have to be interesting. So I wish everyone would shut up. Shut up. Number two, I want to speak to, there's the Giselle and Robin dynamic, but I specifically want to speak to Giselle for a second. There's so much to unpack there, but I think I'm just going to roll it up. I think the fact that she says, hey, I was uncomfortable, I think you have to acknowledge that. Now, I don't know how true that was. I think maybe her discomfort could have come from allowing herself to be in a situation and she wanted to get out of a situation. No, I don't think that what's the husband's name with the multicolored beard? The guy, his name escapes me. It'll come to me in a second. I don't even know why his name escaped me that quick. But anyway, the guy that they're referencing on the show, clearly he is in love with fame and stardom. So I don't understand why he is constantly in the mix with the women anyway. It's not Real House husbands. So he, in relation to this, Chris, that's his name. Giselle and Chris. Now, I'm going to say this, which is going to probably make people mad. Chris, whatever his last name is, Chris, he's also wrong. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. It's not because I think he did anything. I don't think a single thing happened. I think we can all agree that everyone's saying like, oh, nothing happened. That's not the issue. Why would you go ahead and go to somebody's room anyway? See, I think there's a lot of deflection happening. We already know that Giselle, there's something going on with her where she likes to get in the mix and involve herself in relationships that don't concern her. But as a man, I'm like, why are you even in her room? Period. So all of this crying from Candace and stuff like that, you're trying to take down my husband, very well could be true, but what are the tears for? Because if you believe in your husband or anything like that, to me, I would have deaded that right away. This would have been a dead issue. I'm like, this is a non-issue. your business, stay out of my so-and-so. Like, I would have just wrapped that up and there would have been no question on it. But I also believe that Candace is making this, as you guys call a storyline. She's pushing this along. The woman is not a dum-dum. The fact of the matter is, going back to my point, was Giselle, you can't acknowledge the fact that someone says, hey, I was uncomfortable. You have to acknowledge it. I think her real discomfort was in the mess that she created. Number two, regardless of who invited who up to the room first, he should have never been in the room. I don't even care who went first. I don't care if he invited himself or she invited him. He was flat out a ding-dong for even going there. Allegedly. I'm saying alleged to everything, even though he admitted he was in the room. This is all alleged. So that's where I'm at with that. Okay, we can nitpick and choose who invited who first, what actually happened. I don't care. He shouldn't have been there. It's really that simple. It's all the way that simple. But to see Giselle continue to do these things, and she's got her sidekick, Robin. I'm like, look, I think when you see it for what it is, the fact that they're continuing to stoke this fire, I'm like, for me, had this been me in that situation, I literally would have been like, I would have said my piece and it would have been done. I'm like, I know that I need to keep both eyes on you. Not because I want to. And I just would have left it alone. I'm like, I'm not going to continue to give this any energy, as everybody does say, always talk about energy. Number three, this is going to make some people mad. And I want you to listen. I do believe there is subconscious bias on the show. I do believe there are instances of colorism, but I think that they are watering down colorism, meaning they're going to say everything is colorism. I'm like, was it colorism when Candace was throwing a knife? Was it? Was it colorism when she was, and actually, like they say, multiple things can exist at the same time, but I get so sick and tired of when women feel as if they are wronged, they want to run and cry colorism. I do believe it exists on this show, but everything cannot be colorism. You know, I watched over the years, because I've watched this franchise. I'm usually like a day late, a dollar short when I catch up on some of the shows, sometimes like 3 or 4 days, right? And then I'm like, I finally catch the episode. But I've watched over the years how, you know, people, Wendy can say that it's a microaggression to call someone angry, and it is, especially a black woman, right, to call someone angry. She's absolutely right. But there have been so many microaggressions committed by both her and Candace. If anything, Candace, she hasn't just committed microaggressions. She has gone so far, okay? So on the one hand, she gets to use her tongue like a weapon. I don't think it's shade. Everybody says she's a shade assassin. I don't think that's shade. That's something else that she's doing. So you guys can just be mad, miss me. I don't really care. But what she's doing is whenever she feels like she's wrong, she knows how to be like a damsel in distress. Like, good on her. Because I'm telling you right now, if somebody comes at me crazy, I'm falling out too. Like, it's just not right. Like, I will be a full-on actress. I'm gonna get an EGOT, an Emmy, a Grandma, an Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. Like all of it. But she too has learned how to weaponize her tears. See, we're not calling that out. She has been equally as violent and aggressive. Oh, absolutely, she has. I would say that Wendy has not been violent, I think, but she has been dismissive. I think that she has, some of the things that have come out of her mouth, the way she was towards these ladies, they're giving a lot of passes. But in this instance, what I'm seeing this season, there's a lot that's happening, and I do think they're trying to isolate her. I think what they're doing to her is absolutely wrong. See, like, had I been on a show like that, which I would not, but had I been on a show like that, or like this, like somebody like a Wendy trying to wield her education, I would have been like, Wendy, that does not work on me, because I'm a highly educated educated person. The only thing I don't have is a PhD. And everyone is always trying to push me to get a PhD. I'm like, I don't need it for my career. I'm like, so that may work on them, but it doesn't work on me. And I'm also a wordsmith when necessary. I'm like, look, there's something very insecure about Wendy. But in this season, what they're doing to Wendy, I just think is so out of line. I want to get to Robin for a second. Robin has been uber aggressive since as long as I can remember. And now people are finally calling it out. And had I had a channel maybe several seasons back, I would have voiced that. Because I was like, how do you get to show up to somebody's place of employment? Like that, I think it was in season 2 or 1. I can't remember what. I was going nuts over that. I'm like, how dare she think that she can just come to her place of employment and stick her finger in her face? I'm not even like a fighter, but I might have popped off on somebody. I'm like, I feel like you're being a girl. That is a threat to me. If you come to me, you're stepping to my physical person. But she would stick her finger in her face, and then she's done that before to Monique. Like, she got up in Monique's face. So I'm looking at this season. It's just evolving into something that I'm not interested in. Which explains why the last few episodes I kept falling asleep on it, because I'm like, I don't care. We know what's going to happen. They're going to talk about people's husbands and stuff like that. I want to circle back to Chris for a second. It is so weird to me that he's that caught up in the mix of things, that he's DMing. I don't care how innocent the DMs are, right? And not that you can't ever reach out to people, but because you know the type of show you're on and the type of woman you're surrounded, like just in general, why? And then you're in somebody's room. And so what happens is everyone's talking about like, oh, Giselle, because, well, she is a character unto herself. She's a persona, in my opinion. I think she is a persona for the show. But the facts are, well, I won't say facts. From my understanding, everything is all alleged. He was DMing the ladies. I don't care if it was just, I love singing the ABCs. The show was messy. Why would you put yourself in this situation? You don't trust anyone. Number 2, you were in her room, allegedly. So I don't care if she invited you, if you invited yourself, if Jesus came and descended from the heavens himself, came and invited you into the room. Well, maybe if Jesus invited you, it's different. But, but you were in the room. I don't care who did what. I don't care. It doesn't even matter. Why were you there? I don't care if you were talking about banging your heads together like click-clacks. So, like, they're getting caught up in who said what first, who invited. I'm like, I don't care. Why were you there? I think, for me, the tears from Candace they're just like, they have no meaning for me. Because you can wield your tongue as a weapon, and as soon as someone hurts your feelings, you get to whine and cry. So what happens is, like, it's like the boy who cried wolf. But going back to colorism, I feel like on these shows, like, and I'm going to shade my whole black community, I feel like every time people learn a new word, colorism, gaslighting, or whatever, we want to beat it in the ground. I'm going to give you guys some new vocabulary words. Dogmatic. Or dogma. Look up these words. Ineffable. Boulder dash. We're going to look up words like that. Let's try something else, because we're beating it in the ground. Now, let me just circle back to colorism. This show has had a colorism problem for as long as it's been around. I do, however, think that sometimes these women are just flat out a-holes. And I don't think everything is colorism. So now, anytime you are met with any level of aggression or adversity or whatever, it's, oh, you are a colorist because this, that, and the other. You wouldn't do this. Now, like I said, multiple things can exist at the same time. But every time something happens, now it becomes a colorism issue. Because I'm like, when Candace was sitting there plotting against Monique several seasons back, where was all of her moral high ground then? Where was all this righteous indignation then? But as soon as the tables turn, or the tides turn, or what the tables flip, I don't even know what the saying is. As soon as everything changes, suddenly it's colorism. It's this, it's that. And I don't like it. If you're gonna do it, then do it consistently, right? Like be like, and then say what it is. I'm like, because she can, express herself any other time, even violently. I think that that's a form of aggression. I think she's very violent with her tongue. But now it's just like we just want to whine and cry. I do think that Robin is very aggressive. She stood up and was walking towards people. Like, there's something about her that I'm like, you need to just stop. To be honest, I was never a big Wendy Asefo, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, fan. I don't hate her. I didn't necessarily care for her. I mean, I just find that it's hard for me to watch a woman be insecure on television. I mean, we all are insecure in some way, shape, or form, but I do find her to be just very insecure. I find her to be very, very insecure. And it's a shame because she's so accomplished. But I'm not. I'm just, I don't know. There's something it's just hard to watch. I feel like if she had been in the in crowd, or if she was capable of being in the in crowd per se, I think she would have ran there in a heartbeat. I do. But anyway, yeah, I think that we cry colorism too much on the show. I think some of it's just them being a-holes. I do think there is a colorism thing going on there for sure. Like I said, there's multiple things happening. But like I said, you don't get to pick and choose when people are aggressive then, right? Because if you're being aggressive, if you're being verbally just disgusting and you're throwing knives, then you can't turn around. Because maybe we should just say, like, we need to have higher security for everybody. Because if I were on that show, I'd be like, I think you're a threat. I think you're going to throw knives. I think that you're going to wield your weapon physically and verbally. I'd be a full-on damsel. Well, you can't be a damsel. A damsel is somebody who's single, but you understand what I'm saying, right? A damsel is a single woman. I would be a total princess. I sure would. I'd be falling out like, don't hit me. Just so they can see what that feels like. I would weaponize that. I totally would. Just so they can see how ridiculous it was. And then I would speak on it. I'm like, you don't like how that is, do you? But now you can't deny that I have a concern because, see, I've already seen you do it once. If you're going to do it with a knife, what's next? Because clearly you have shown no boundaries. She talks about everybody else, but where's yours? For every finger that's pointing, you got 3 more pointing back at you. Wendy has been ridiculous, but not nearly like the rest of these women. You got that Mia chick. I'm like, why are you throwing things at people? She is out of line based on the clip that they're showing of next week. Oh, absolutely. I would have a problem with her. Absolutely. Even if it's not directed at me. I'm like, let me tell you something. I'm really sick and tired every time you don't like something. You think you can get up and throw things and act like a petulant child. We already have one petulant child on the show. It rhymes with Mandis. Child. I'm like, I don't understand why they are allowing all of these behaviors. And then when a lot of these women, when they don't feel comfortable, they don't want to show up to these reunions because it's just like too much for them to be held accountable. But yeah, I just feel like I keep falling asleep on it because I'm like, it's just more of the same shenanigans. It's just going to be more women just yelling and throwing things at each other, being verbally disgusting. I could not be on that show because I think the very worst parts of me would be surfacing regularly. I know I can say some treacherous things. This mouth can be treacherous. But as you get older, you mature, and I don't like to wield my tongue in a manner that's going to be that damaging. All right. look, you know you like me. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm amazing in every way and can do no wrong. Black opinionated woman out.